In a small village there lived a 10-year-old boy named Jack. Jack was a curious child, always eager to explore the nooks and crannies of his hometown. One day, while playing near an old, abandoned mansion at the edge of the village, Jack saw an old lady standing by the gate. She wore tattered clothes and had a distant, eerie look in her eyes. Jack's heart skipped a beat. He had heard stories about the mansion being haunted, but he never believed them. However, as he looked at the old lady, he felt a chill run down his spine. Her gaze seemed to pierce right through him. He blinked and she was gone. Over the next few days, Jack couldn't shake the image of the old lady from his mind. Whenever he went to school, to the market, or even while playing with his friends, he would catch glimpses of her standing at a distance, always watching him. Jack tried to tell his parents about the old lady, but they dismissed his concerns as mere imagination. "It's just your mind playing tricks on you," they said. Even his friends laughed it off, thinking he was making up stories to scare them. But Jack knew what he saw. The old lady's presence became more frequent. One night, as he lay in bed, he heard whispers. Soft, eerie whispers that seemed to come from the walls of his room. He pulled the blanket over his head, trying to drown out the sound, but it only grew louder. Summoning all his courage, Jack decided to confront the old lady. He returned to the mansion and stood at the gate, calling out for her. The air grew cold and a thick fog enveloped the area. Out of the mist, the old lady appeared, her eyes filled with something sinister. Jack felt a paralyzing fear, unable to move or speak. The old lady began to walk towards him, her steps slow and deliberate. Jack's mind raced, but his body was frozen in place. The whispers grew louder, and the air around him felt heavy. The last thing Jack saw was the old lady's cold, hollow eyes staring into his soul. In a quiet suburb, a 15-year-old girl named Emily moved into a new house with her family. The house was old, with creaky floors and a musty smell that lingered in the air. Emily was excited about the move, hoping for a fresh start in this new place. However, from the very first night, Emily felt an unsettling presence in her room. It was as if someone or something was watching her. The feeling was so strong that she could hardly sleep. She would hear faint whispers and see shadows moving in the corners of her eyes. One evening, as Emily was unpacking her belongings, she noticed a strange, cold spot in the room. No matter how warm the house was, this spot remained icy cold. She tried to ignore it, convincing herself it was just her imagination. But the feeling grew stronger with each passing day. Emily began to see glimpses of a dark figure standing at the foot of her bed, watching her. The figure was tall, with hollow eyes that seemed to bore into her soul. She could feel its malevolent intent, as if it wanted to harm her. Emily tried to tell her parents about the strange occurrences, but they brushed it off as mere anxiety from the move. "It's just an old house," they said. "Nothing to worry about." Her friends also dismissed her fears, thinking she was overreacting. One night, Emily decided to confront whatever was haunting her. She stayed awake, watching the shadows in her room. As the clock struck midnight, the temperature in the room dropped suddenly, and the dark figure appeared again. This time it moved closer, reaching out its cold, bony hand towards her. Terrified, Emily reached for the flashlight on her bedside table and shone it at the figure. The light seemed to have no effect as the figure continued to advance. Desperate, she began to recite a prayer she remembered from her grandmother. The figure paused, its hollow eyes narrowing, and then it vanished into thin air. Emily thought she had defeated the entity, but the following nights proved otherwise. The figure continued to haunt her, growing bolder and more aggressive. She could feel its icy breath on her neck, its cold fingers brushing against her skin. Emily knew that she had to find a way to stop it, but the more she tried, the stronger the presence became. With no one believing her, Emily felt utterly alone. The house, which was supposed to be a new beginning, had become a prison of fear. Every night, she braced herself for the terror that awaited, hoping that someday she would find a way to escape the evil that lurked in her room.